in our September series of small business seminars. I'm Sandra Wilson, and I'm president of the Paducah Chamber. This is our third one. We've had a great lineup so far, and you all know small business is big business in our community. And the topics that we have been exploring this month are a result of a survey that we did of our local small businesses that are members of the chamber on what topics that they would like to hear from. Marketing was one of those, and we almost do this one every year because it is such a hot topic and it is so important to a business about how they market and who they're marketing to. So that's one of the things we're going to explore today. Marketing is essential to profitability and to growth and to sustaining the success of a business, from networking to advertising to anything in between that fits into that as part of a marketing plan. For entrepreneurs and small business owners, every dollar counts. So some of this is obviously things that would cost, and some of it are things that are absolutely at no cost to a small business. So today we want to talk about your target market, who it is and who it isn't, and how do you reach them once you've identified them. This is live on WPSD's Facebook page, the Paducah Chamber's Facebook, and then of course through Zoom. We are recording the call and we'll post the recording later on the Chamber's website and Facebook page in case you want to share it with another small business owner. The past two webinars are also posted on our paducahchamber.org website under Programs, Small Business, and Events under Seminars and Workshops. During the seminar, if you have questions, you can enter those in the chat box on the Zoom, or you may email me at swilson@paducahchamber.org. Now I'd like to introduce our seminar sponsors, FNB Bank and Lundberg Medical Imaging, who have each prepared a video message for you. Here's Ike Nichols, Market President with FNB Bank, and Terry Lundberg, Practice Manager at Lundberg Medical Imaging.
Thank you for joining the Paducah Chamber Small Business Seminar Series. My name is Ike Nichols with FNB Bank. FNB is a proud sponsor of this year's series. We know that 2020 has been somewhat of a challenging year for a lot of small businesses, so our hope is that some of the information we gain from this series will be useful for you going forward. Again, on behalf of FNB, thank you for taking time out of your day to join this meeting, and have a good day.
Terry with Lundberg Medical Imaging. Our facility is a privately owned small business serving our region with diagnostic imaging services. As a board member of the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce and a small business owner myself, I am passionate about helping our area small businesses. I want each of you watching today to know that I am here to answer your questions, guide you to those resources, and please, when our chamber starts having those in-person power and partnership meetings again, ask me to sit at your table. The Chamber of Commerce is here to facilitate those valuable networking connections and guide you to those resources. And because Lundberg Medical Imaging fully supports the economic engines of our community, we are happy to sponsor today's event. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you again to FNB Bank and Lundberg Medical Imaging. So now I'm going to introduce our speakers. Today's speakers are here to help small business owners remember choosing a target market doesn't decrease your marketing, it only focuses your attention. So Chris Hill is a small business coach with Entrepreneuring, let me say it correctly, and consultant who specializes in transforming small businesses. He also owns a business himself and is very active in the community. He's the vice chair of the McCracken County Sports Commission. Read some about your work today. Jim Dudley today is our other speaker, and Jim is the current chair of the McCracken County Sports Commission, which was featured in today's paper. Jim is the Chamber's vice chair of membership and marketing, and has been very active in helping us to grow our chamber these past few years in his volunteer role as the vice chair with us. So I think that Chris is going to go first with Entrepreneuring, and then we'll be followed by Jim. So we'll turn it over to you, Chris.
All right, good morning, everybody. Let me get my screen sharing here going here. Can I be allowed to share my screen?
You should be, Chris, but I will say we had a little bit of technical difficulty. So Chris, maybe Kelly can share it. Let me double check.
Okay. So hopefully everybody's having a good morning so far today. Definitely want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to Jim and I talk today, and hopefully we can definitely help you guys with your business here coming up soon. So, okay, it's sharing now. All right. Okay, good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Chris with Entrepreneuring, and I'm a small business coach and consultant. And so today's presentation is who is your market, and not everyone is your market and why. And so again, I'd like to thank everybody to the attendees coming here today, our sponsors, Lundberg Medical Imaging, as well as FNB Bank here in Paducah, also to WPSD Channel 6, who are doing the live streaming of this on their website and their social media as well, and to Sandra, Kelly, and Carrie, and everyone down at the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce for allowing us to help out today. And so the goals that we have for you today is I want to be able to give you immediate actions that you can implement in your business to help your business today. Hopefully we'll have some real world examples of these recommendations, and to hopefully have fun with what we're doing, because if we're not having fun doing what we're doing, you just shouldn't be doing it. Okay, so the outline of what we're going to be talking about today is, first, we're going to be talking about market share and how to calculate it, and how to determine what market share that you do have for your business. Second, we're going to be talking about not everyone is your market and not everyone is your customer. I know it's somewhat counterintuitive to think about that, but that's the reality of business and how to be more successful. Next, we're going to talk about what a minimum viable audience is for your business. Next, we're going to talk about how to specialize your business to delight your ideal customers going forward. And last, once you've identified who you want to have for your ideal customer, how to find those customers. So first, I'd like to talk about the small business owner. Your normal small business owner, we're overworked, we're underpaid, and we're stressed out tremendously. It's, many of the population, they don't quite realize how stressful it is having your own business going forward. And so I'd like to introduce you to George. So George is a small business owner. He is one of my clients. And here's a picture of George, who says having your own business is stressful. I'm 39 and feeling great. It's hopefully we all don't age quite like George has, being 39, but it's definitely challenging running your own business and all the stress that you have to deal with sometimes. So first, I'd like to talk about market share. And so simply, market share is the customers you have versus divided by your potential customers. And so simply, you want to look at, from a radius of where your business is located, exactly how many residents you have to pull from. And so just for example, from the center of the bullseye being the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce, if you're within a 5-mile radius, there are 37,000 people. If you include a 25-mile radius, there's 110,000 people in that area. And if you increase it out to a 50-mile radius, you have 400,000 people you can pull from. So it's really, once you truly start looking at the data and the numbers, there are a very large amount of potential customers you could have for your business. So now let's look at a successful business and what is their market share. And so this business is, they pull from generally a 25-mile radius from the local chamber. And they had roughly 750 customers in 2018. It's like, okay, 750 customers, that's a lot of people. But if you actually do the math, they have less than 1% of the potential market they can have for their business. Because remember, within a 25-mile radius of the chamber, you have 110,000 people. And so whenever I actually told this, I told the small business owner that she had less than 1% of the total market. I mean, it really looked like I had just, just told her their dog died or something. Just the look on her face, like, what? I'm doing that, I'm not, I don't have any more of the market than that. And you're like, what? That's, so it's really kind of a, reality check. But this business is actually Compass Counseling with Katie Engler. I mean, Katie was the 2020 Entrepreneur of the Year for the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, this is a very good, very strong business, and they have less than 1% of the market share of their potential, of their opportunity. And so it's really kind of a gut check to figure out that, okay, I can have less than 1% and be okay. And so really want to talk about, where everybody is not your ideal customer, what that looks like. So here's Katie's example. Her customer base is less than 1%. Here's the entire pie of everybody. So the yellow is her customer base and the green is everybody else. And it's just goes to show how many people really aren't involved in the success of your business. And so next, I'd like to talk about the minimum viable audience for a business. I know this is probably a foreign term for a lot of folks, but let me kind of share some things about this. So first, the minimum viable audience is the smallest amount of customers that you need for your business to be a success. And then once you identify how many customers that you need, you get to pick who you want to serve and delight. But whenever you do that, you start picking out which customers you want. You really need to be respectful and kindly ignore ignore the rest. And so how you determine what the minimum viable audience that you need is just some simple Algebra 1. I'm sorry, I use Algebra 1 outside of high school, so please don't shoot me. So come up with your monthly sales goal. What is your average sales price that you have? And then try to estimate your lead closing percentage. So if you get 10 leads and you close 5 of those, you have a 50% closing rate on that. And so here is a minimum viable audience example. And so this business is assuming they want to have $10,000 a month in monthly sales. That's a good estimate for a solopreneur where the owner is the only employee as well. And so they have their average sale is $750, and they close half of the leads that comes in. So if you actually go through and you do the math, they need 13 jobs per month to meet the $10,000 monthly goal. And they close 50%, so they need 27 leads per month, or approximately 6 leads a week. And one of the things, so if you don't want to do the math, I've put together a very handy calculator on my website. So you go to entrepreneuring.com/lessons leads needed. And so if somebody could add that to the chat on there, and if not, I'll add it after the presentation is over on that. So it's a nice, easy way to come up with that. And so once you have the minimum viable audience, you identify how many customers you need. You want to pick who you want to serve and delight by specializing your business in what your audience wants and needs to go forward. And so what does a successful business specialize in? What does that look like? So an example of this is this business started to specialize in 2011. They eliminated their low profit and difficult business services. And then, so once they got rid of the low profit and the hard to do business services, they had time to try new things and to launch a new product line. And so here's the graph of the sales for that business. So you can see, and this is a business that's at this moment in time had been doing business for about 25 years. And so you can tell in 2009, that's the baseline. So it's 100%. Now this company actually grew 50% from 2009 to 2010. And then it was kind of flat in 2010, 2011, 2012. But you can see in 2009, they actually had a new product line was launched. And so as time progresses, and then you start getting 2012, the business owner has the time to work on the business. They eliminated the low profit, hard to do things. And so their business started to go up and up. But if you look at from 2011 to 2014, in just 3 years, this business was able to double their sales. And this is a business that had been in operation with a pretty good annual sales. And so this business is actually my business, IHM Used Parts. We sell high quality, low cost, heavy equipment parts, but just having the time available to spend on the business rather than working on the low profit stuff really gave me the time to concentrate on different areas of the business and to grow significantly. And so whenever you're looking at specializing your business, you want to look at optimizing your product and service service offerings. And you only want to keep the low risk and high profit things that you do, because if you're working hard at it, but you're not making any profit, it's not worth doing. You want to consider optimizing the type of customers that you do have, either be wholesale only or retail only, because it's hard to serve both sectors very well. And remember, you don't have to have a ton of customers to be successful in your business. And I will admit 100%, it's a lot of soul searching, a lot of prayer it took for us to come up with how we want to specialize your business. And so here are some positive consequences of specializing your business. One, you'll be an expert in your field and you can demand a premium price for your product and services. Second, you can say no to potential leads. Now, please don't be rude or arrogant when you're saying no to a potential lead. Just say, I don't do that anymore, or I don't do it at that price any longer. And it can be very, very difficult to do the first time, because as business owners, and especially business owners who are starting out, we are hardwired to take any business that we can, because frankly, we just need to eat and support our families. But once you start having a little bit of success, you really need to consider saying no to some people. So, because it's much better to wait for a good customer rather than to take a bad one because you have the availability. And one of the things you can do for, because a lot of times you'll have businesses that are similar to yours, but not exactly. So you really need to have a referral source to send those leads that come in. And so that's where the chamber really comes in. You can to network with others in your field, build up those relationships. And if something comes in, like insurance is a great example. You have people who specialize in business insurance as well as personal insurance. So if a personal insurance guy gets an opportunity to quote business, like, hey, I don't do that. However, you can send that referral to somebody else. And then they will hopefully send the referrals back to you after the fact. However, there are some unintended consequences of specializing your business. One is fear, because it is very frightening stating to the world who you are, what you do, and who you want as your customer. Because once you specify that, some people can say, no, I don't want your product, or I don't want to do business with you. That can hurt your feelings a little bit. Second, some of your existing customers will disappear. But this is okay, because now that we've established they are not your ideal customer. And lastly, saying no is very, very tough to do to start, but I really want to encourage you to consider doing, because it's very well worth it, because you'll have much more success afterwards. So next, I'd like to talk about how to find your ideal customer. So first, you want to market to your existing customers first. I know it seems kind of counterintuitive, but a lot of times it's much easier to sell to someone the second time rather than the first time. And one of the things that works very well for marketing your existing customers is email automation. I've implemented that in my business in the last year and a half, and we've had very, very good success with it. We have not gone down during COVID, the COVID-19 crisis that we're dealing with right now. And I contribute that very much of that not falling off is the fact that we truly reach out to our customers very often. Second thing you can do to market to your existing customers is to create a custom audience inside Facebook and market directly to them. And how you create the custom audience in Facebook is very simple. You can export out their phone number and or their email addresses from your QuickBooks or your accounting software and import that directly into Facebook. Then once you have your existing customers in there, you can create lookalike audiences for that, so that these are the similar demographics that they have, and then you can start advertising to similar demographics inside Facebook that is not your existing customer base. And so, an example of a sample lookalike audience or ideal audience, so I'm not a Kentucky fan, but there's a lot of Kentucky fans in the area, so it's a great example. So one, you can select UK men's basketball fans who have a college education or higher, are married, and they like dogs. And so you can actually plug those demographics into Facebook. And so there's roughly 2,000 people inside Paducah who fit that criteria. And if you can pick up, even a handful of those people, that's going to be very, very good for your business. And so some of my general recommendations, just start and do something, because good enough is okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you're out shipping your product and services and interacting with the market. Now, this is not an excuse to have an inferior product or service, because remember, you want to delight and excite your customer and your customer base. And second thing is, products scale much better than services. Services, you have amount of time, you're trying to sell that time. And you really want to, and so if you have a service-based business, really try to brainstorm a product that you can add to your business going forward. So immediate actions to do today: start using automation to reach out to your existing customers, eliminate your low profit and high risk activities, and advertise to a lookalike audience to grow your existing customer base. And so in summary, what you need to do is to determine your minimum viable audience, specialize your business for your ideal customer, make your ideal customer extremely happy, because your ideal customers will tell the others, advertise to find more of your ideal customer to have more profit and success. And so if anybody has any questions, please reach out to me at entrepreneuring.com. We're on Facebook and on the web as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. Thanks.
Hey, Chris, I know you're going to hang around because I want to go back to the topic of email automation in a few minutes, but if I'd like to go ahead and bring Jim Dudley in, who's going to talk a little bit more about the networking part. Obviously the chamber has had to go virtual with all of our events, so it's not like we're gathered together in the rooms with 300 to 400 people anymore. So it's a little bit different on networking, and I know Jim has customized his presentation today to talk a little bit more about how to do networking even when you're not in person. So Jim, I'm going to give it to you, and you can share your screen.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. And this is something I'm very passionate about, is networking. It's probably my favorite thing. So I was very honored when they asked me to speak on this. Let me pull up my screen here, and we'll kind of get started with that. So, obviously today we're talking about who is your market, and kind of piggybacking off everything Chris said. Once you know who your market is, now we got to go and network with them, and we got to find a way to make them a customer and do business with them. So the definition of networking is the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts. So the one thing that I'm really going to piggyback off that definition from Google is, you notice it doesn't say the action of selling your business. And I think that's the one thing that if you learn nothing else from me today, networking is not always selling your business. A lot of times networking is growing a black book is a word I'm going to use a lot today, a black book of connections that people just know who you are and know what you do. And by networking and by growing that black book of people, that's how you're going to grow your business. So we're going to focus on that a lot today, is making sure that we're not trying to sell every single time we talk to people, because you don't want to be that person that every time somebody sees you, they run the other way because they're afraid you're going to start trying to sell them something. So ways do we network? So how do we do this before COVID-19? Chris mentioned this a little bit. We are going through a pandemic, so things have changed, but some of the ways we used to network, chamber events. We used to have the Power and Partnership Breakfast. You walk into a room of 300 and 400 people, and you got to network with people from so many different companies all over the community. And it was a great way to get to know people. Out to lunch was another one. The Business Expo, you could walk around to all the different booths and truly get to meet businesses and owners, find out what they do, and also tell them a little bit about what you do. And then probably my favorite way to network through the chamber was the ribbon cuttings. I don't think there's a better way to go to a business, especially a small business owner, be there for them, be a part of something that's very special for them, especially entrepreneurs who are opening their own business. I mean, that's just the highlight because that's everything they worked so hard for, and now they're getting to see that come live. And you get to be there. You get to learn about their business. You get to kind of learn what their clientele is, like Chris mentioned. And that's a great way to truly network. And you just show you care. You show that you care about their business, and that's always been one of my favorite ways to network was ribbon cuttings. Nonprofit events, 5K, charity events, volunteering at specific organizations. One thing I recommend on nonprofit events is, again, you're building your networking base by giving back to the community. So you're not there to sell your product. You're there to give back to your community. And if you guys know anything about Paducah, this is a very giving community. And a lot of times you will build that networking black book just by being involved and just by helping out your community, because people in this community want to do business with people who care about it. If you're here just to make a dollar, people will catch that very quick, and it's going to hurt your business. So, truly caring about your community and being involved is a huge part of networking. Community involvement, attend all the community events, your parades, your barbecue on the rivers, your government meetings, your city and county meetings. Again, these are just ways to show that you're involved in the community, that you care about it, that you care what's happening. Because let's be honest, if this community is not growing, then how are you going to grow your business? And you need to be involved in those discussions, and you need to have a voice. And I know our elected officials want to hear from business owners, and they want to hear from the people that are doing business in the community, and they want to know ways to make it easier for them. And this is, again, it's a way for you to be involved and show that you care about our community. And it's also going to be a way for you to grow your networking base, because you're going to meet people there that you're going to talk to, and they're going to want to know what you do, and they're going to want to know things about your business. So community involvement is very, very important. Leadership trainings, Leadership Paducah is a great program. Leadership Kentucky, specific trainings within your field. One thing great about trainings is not only are you going to grow your networking base while you're there, but you're also going to grow as an individual. So, you're at these leadership trainings, you're sitting beside someone. Chris and I may attend a training together, and there's always breaks in between trainings. So Chris and I can talk business, and I can find out what he does, and he can find out what I do. And then now we can help each other out. So now we've sat through a training, we've grown individually, but we've also grown our networking base. So again, these are all ways that we did it pre-COVID, right? When we didn't have to stay 6 feet apart. But what does that look like now? So now it's COVID-19. Like Sandra said, things have changed, and we've had to do a lot of this virtually. So that makes it a little more challenging. And if you're an introvert, you probably like it a little bit better. But these are still several ways to network and to grow your business. Chris mentioned a little bit of social media. Social media is a great, great avenue to grow your business. You can use community groups on Facebook. That's a great way to engage people, have conversations, talk about your product, talk about what you're selling. They can ask questions on there. And social media gives you the ability to kind of, if you're not available, you're still going to get that message. You can answer it, within 24 hours or sooner sometimes. But community groups on Facebook are a great way to really talk about a product, especially if you have a niche in the market. Go out there and discuss that and say, hey, this is my product and this is why it works. And then answer those questions and help people be more informative about your product. Live medias, I think every social media platform out there allows for live videos. Sorry, I said medias. Live videos, those are a great way, again, to sell your product. If people aren't allowed in your store, or if you don't really want a lot of traffic in there because of COVID-19, do a live video on one of your social media platforms. Show what you have in your store, what you're selling. You can even do, giveaways, who shares your video the most, who watches it. And you can really be interactive with these live videos and at the same time showing, everybody on Facebook what a great product you have. And YouTube videos are also good. You can create those instructional. You can build those out where people can share them and watch them. And again, all these videos are stuff that you can save and share over time that just continue to grow your base. And the way it's going to grow your base is somebody's going to watch it and then somebody's going to reach out to you, and then you can talk to them about it. You can talk to them about what they do, what you do, continue to grow that networking base, that networking black book, and just continue to grow that each time. And I really like social media. It's one of my favorite ways to interact with people, to grow my business, to grow my networking base. Zoom calls. This is on Zoom, right? I would dare to say everybody's done 1 or 1,000 Zoom calls since it started. This is a great way to interact with people, to see their face, to talk to them. Me and I've got a group of friends from college that we actually did several Zoom videos over this pandemic because we couldn't see each other. And we were used to getting together and hanging out once or twice a year. So we actually did a Zoom call several times a week at times. And before you know it, you're talking for an hour and you don't even realize it. I've done sales calls on Zoom calls. People I've never met before. You set up a Zoom call, a little awkward at first, but you get through it and you end up making a sale on it. So Zoom has been a great feature for businesses. It's a great way to talk and to interact with people and to continue to grow, your business, but also that networking base. And then online trainings. This is what the Chamber's doing is a great example of this. You build these training-based videos. You can save them. You can put them on your website, and it keeps people going. So if someone can't watch this video today, they can watch it tomorrow. But that just allows everyone to do it on their schedule. And if you have these on your website, you have these on your social media pages, you're still going to be able to grow your network. You're still going to be able to grow that base, and it's just going to continue to help you down the road. So I think that's so kind of in closing, what I want you guys to realize from this is, the Chamber, when we do ribbon cuttings, we give everybody a little black book, and we call it a black book of contacts, and in that black book is business cards from people on membership and marketing. So I love that black book contacts, and I want everybody to reach out and say, hey, how do I grow my black book? Because that's what we want. You want as many people in this community to know what you do and how you do it. And you do that by just networking with people. And again, I said at the start of this, don't oversell, right? I talked to somebody yesterday and they said, I've gotten so bad at not selling my product that people forget what I do. So you have to find that nice middle point and say, okay, how do I talk to people and network? And I'm not trying to sell something every time I see them, but they also know what I do. So it's conversations, it's caring about what they've got going on in their life, growing as a network, and then people know what you do. So thank you again for having me. Like I said, networking is something I'm very passionate about. I've been doing this at the Chamber for a long time, so I really appreciate Sandra giving me a chance just to speak on this. And if anybody's got any questions, reach out to me, and I'll be glad to answer them.
Great. Jim, thank you. One of the things that you talked about is the way that we've had to pivot. We've been on conferences all week it was our first 2-day conference with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce executives, and the top word used so much was pivoting. So we've had to do that, and we aren't having all of the ribbon cuttings and all of the events that we used to have, but we have had some. We've all masked up and attended and tried to stay as far apart as we could to keep going. And I think that's important to keep our local businesses going and make sure that they're being successful during this time. One of the things that you talked about, Chris, was email automation. So do you want to expand on that? And then I want to follow up with networking with emailing. So Chris, you want to expand that?
Sure, no problem. So what I have set up in my business is that my phone system and my email system are integrated together. And so I use the Fresh Sales CRM software. So whenever somebody calls me with my phone system, a new window pops up on my screen. Basically, so I can see, it looks at the caller ID number and it can tell, okay, if this is a new caller, it's a new caller. It tells me, or if it's somebody who I've done business with before, say it's Jim at Conequip Parts. And so I can automatically see how many times I've quoted him, how many he's purchased, and so on and so forth. And so one of the things, I actually sent a small bulk email earlier this morning, and I'm gonna look over my other screen here for a second. So I sent it at 7 o'clock this morning, sent it to 356 people. 58 people have already opened that email, and I've already received 7 leads for more parts for heavy equipment, and that's in less than 2 hours. And so literally it took me maybe 2 minutes to send that bulk email, and it's not elaborate. It's just a very simple, do you need any heavy equipment parts? Thank you, Chris. That's all the email says. And actually I have a better open and success rate of people reaching back out the simpler the email says, because truly, if you look at it, it looks like I just typed it out and sent it. So it doesn't have all the HTML graphics or anything like that. And so basically once every 21 days, if somebody hasn't called or email us, we just send a simple email. Hey, is there anything we can do to help you? You know, if it was Jim, you know, he'd send an email saying, hey, do you need any help? Are you experiencing any IT issues? Thank you, Jim. And it's literally just as simple as that. And it's just a nice, simple, non-spammy way to reach back out to your client base, just to remind you that, to remind them that you're there. And it flat out works. I knew that I was losing a lot of my contacts through the cracks for the last few years, but we're growing our email list by about 500 a month right now, with just the phones coming in and just people reaching out to us. And so we're capturing it.
So do you would advise then to keep the email short?
Yes.
To the point,
Short and sweet.
and make it easy for them to respond to you, so they can just click on or click here to order from you on that email?
Pardon?
Is there a way to order from you immediately on that email?
Not generally. My average sale is about $1,000. And so a lot of times people don't just do an e-commerce transaction on that. And so they want to call, they want to find the condition of the part and whatnot. But, but IHM is a very, very niche market for what we do, because we have about 700,000 line items available for sale and pricing on maybe about 25% of that. So a lot of times we don't truly have pricing on that just because of the scale of the product offerings that we do have.
Okay, well, let's go back to Jim to follow up on emails. Like you've talked about going to events when we used to do that, or even on Zoom calls like this, or civic clubs or other things that are doing that. When we've talked about, it's important to not bombard someone the first time you meet them about, here's my business card, here's what I do, to just make that more of a general friendly conversation to get to know them. But following up with an email, how do you feel about that?
I think that's a great way. One of my slides actually didn't work. That was about follow-ups, but I think you can follow up with an email, say, hey, it was great meeting you at the chamber breakfast, or it was great being on that Zoom call with you, and then follow that up with, can we get together and maybe have coffee? One-on-one are still, a lot of people are still doing those. They feel comfortable with that. You can sit and go have coffee, somewhere and have your mask on and still talk to each other and socially distance. So email follow-ups are great. I like calling, probably a little bit better, just reaching out to them via phone and just saying, hey, Chris, great meeting you the other day. You got 30 minutes one morning to sit down before you go to the office, and I can learn a little bit more about your business. And again, I would recommend when you do that, you're still talking about their business, right? I think if they're interested in your business, they're going to ask you. And most people, if you start really asking about their business, then they're going to want to know about your business. That's just common courtesy. But for me, I always try to make my interactions when I meet someone new to learn as much as I can about them first. Because then as a networking base, I know then how that relationship's going to look from on my end. But yeah, I think email follow-ups are great. Like Chris said, keep it short. Don't send them a paragraph because most people aren't going to read the whole thing. And, just a quick, hey, it was great to meet you, to talk to you on that Zoom call. Would love to get together sometime for a one-on-one, and leave your contact information.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Hey, Chris, there's a question for you.
Actually, I'd like to add a little bit to what Jim just said,
Okay.
because sometimes if you get it set up in the CRM correctly, once you say you go on a sales call, you actually have automation set up to send them an automated follow up. Hey, it was great meeting with you. Would you like to meet again? Just any automation you can put in there, it will pay off 100%.
Okay, there is a question, Chris. Can you please clarify the custom audience? Is this for the purpose of paid or boosted Facebook ads?
Yes, it is generally for the boosted ads. And so the nice thing about Facebook is that you can actually reach thousands of people very economically, and it's exactly targeted to the group you're wanting to reach out. And so, because a lot of times, even if you share something on your business page, Facebook currently they'll only show that to about 10% of the people who like or follow your page. And so they're really trying to encourage you to boost, basically to pay Facebook to boost it out. However, a lot of times you can boost for like $2 a day, $5 a day. And especially if you do some kind of video, because Facebook has more video inventory, they know that the more videos you watch, and you could be watching, funny dog videos for, 2 videos in a row, then they'll see a ad for something else in there. And because they have tons of inventory that they want to sell, and it's a way to, the videos can be a very economical way of reaching a ton of people. But if you do the video, you want to have the like the transcript, so you can actually read it whenever you're not actually listening to the audio. So a lot of times you'll have better buy-in and better engagement whenever you do that.
So how do you determine how your target market wants to be communicated with? That email is that route.
Now for my businesses, so we generally try to reflect how they contacted us. So they contact us via telephone, we will call back and give them a quote if we can't do it on the same time. Now, for our industry, it's a lot of times we're quoting somebody who's then going to resell it to somebody else. And a lot of times we're dealing with mechanics, and they're very direct and to the point. If they want to talk to you, they will call you. And so a lot of times we will follow up with the initial quote via the method they contacted us. However, we've tried both ways, doing the call follow-up, and we've done it the email follow-up, and we've had much more success with email follow-up. Because a lot of times, they may forget, oh yeah, I needed that. But a lot of times for us, now we're not, what works for our industry isn't going to work for all the other industries. And you truly need to A and B test a little bit and see what works well for you, because what works well for Jim, given what he's selling and offering, is different than what I'm offering and selling. And so it's really just have to check and see what works well.
And I think Chris had a good point there, Sandra, that it's really about how do they contact you, because if someone emails you, they may not really have time for a phone conversation, and they may not want to have a phone conversation. So, from a sales perspective, I've sold stuff through social media and never talked to the person, never emailed them, never met them. It's just been direct message through Facebook. You go through email, and you've got the people that they will call you and say, hey, I only want to talk in person. So it really depends on the person and how they contact you. And a lot of time consumers will tell you up front, hey, this is, when can we meet, or when's a good time to have a phone conversation?
What about
And a lot of times I've found a difference based upon age. Generally, the younger the potential customer, the more they're comfortable just doing primarily communicating via an email or the social media. The older the customer, they want to actually physically talk to someone on the telephone. And so I think that's just the preference, because a lot of times on the heavy equipment parts, it is a older demographic, and so they want to talk on the phone. But sometimes we've literally sold, we had one wire transfer, exporting parts down to Panama, and it was like a $45,000 wire transfer, and we never actually talked to the guy ever. It's like, what, it boggles my mind sometimes.
You had what he needed.
Yes, exactly. We had what he, yeah. And yeah.
You shift to text marketing. Right now you're getting texts that have information from political candidates asking for votes. I got some over the weekend. What do you think about text marketing?
Well, here's the scary part, Sandra, is the way it's set up now is if I have the right software embedded in my website and you visit my website, I've now tracked your domain and I get your email address and I can flood your email address with my product. And same thing with your cell phone. So, that stuff's very intrusive, but at the same time, it works or people wouldn't do it, So, again, I think it just depends on your market. Like Chris said, if you're dealing with older customers, they probably don't want a bunch of text messages and it's probably going to annoy them. But I think at the same time, younger customers don't mind it. They can look at a text message pretty quick and decide if they like it or not. They can respond to an email or a direct message via social media. So I think it just depends on the situation. And I think COVID-19 has changed a lot of that. You even look at when you see somebody in person now, what do almost all of us do? We're used to a handshake, and now we don't know whether we fist bump or hit elbows or just air high five. I mean, it's like the most awkward situation every time you see anybody nowadays. So it's all changing. And you've got some people that are going to be like, no, I want a handshake still. And some people are like, no, don't touch me. So it's changing every day. I mean, COVID's really changed the way we've had to do business and network. It's really made us all grow and expand how we want to sell.
There's that saying, I think it has to deal more with dealing with stress, but it's about don't sweat the small stuff. But yesterday on a call about events in particular, one of the themes was sweat the small stuff. Little things make a big difference. What about you guys on that? Chris in particular, I think you talked about some of that with delight and excite for one thing, making sure that they get the right product is important. Some of those things. How do you see that part?
I think that a lot of it comes down to, you need to make them excited. I think because one of the questions I ask my consulting clients, if you go out of business, would your customers be disappointed? And if the answer isn't yes, you need to do more to excite your customer base. And it's not just, because I had one of my guys retired, he turned 66 tail end of March. And so he told me 2 years ago, hey, I'm going to retire beginning of April 2020. Who knew it was going to be the middle of COVID at the time as everything was breaking. But I had some of his customers that they were truly sad that Ronnie was retiring. They're like, oh, Ronnie's my guy. What am I going to do? And if you can invoke some kind of emotion that if you weren't there in business anymore, you're doing the right thing. But on the opposite side of that, if you got a business and your customers don't care, that's opportunity for you to improve. And one thing I do want to talk about on the texting, reaching out via text, I think it's extremely important that you do that with your customer's permission. Because if all of a sudden, if you're spamming, because I think it's weird, people perceive their telephone as their personal info. Emails are kind of open for everybody to do. And so one of the things I do want to specify, all the marketing that I do, the reaching back out, those people have willingly given us their contact information. And so if anybody says, hey, I don't want to be contacted by this, we put them on do not disturb and we don't have the automation anymore. It's all about trying to serve and delight, but nobody wants to feel like they're being taken advantage of. Like, oh, I gave this guy I called one time and now I'm getting, 15 random text messages a day where they sold that information to somebody else. Because I really think that happened to me personally 3 weeks ago, and I've got more random text in the last week than I have in forever. And it's frustrating.
Both of you guys are in sales, and I am somewhat too here at the chamber. We're always, selling something, and I've said I can only take 5 no's at a time. So how many no's can you take? How many times do you hear the word no before you stop asking?
So it's funny. I have a quote up in my office, and it says the average salesperson gives up after 3 tries, but it takes 8 tries before you get a yes. So if you think about that, that's 7 no's before you get a yes. If you're in
I gotta write
sales,
that number up.
right? I mean, it's even harder when it's all virtual because it's harder to get in contact with somebody. But one thing I really try to do with both marketing and sales is I always say trust the process and don't focus on the results, because if you've got good processes in play, the results are going to be there. If you've done your homework, you leaned on the experts, and you really put in the right processes, you're going to get the sales results at the end of the day. But if you're so focused on results, you're going to miss some processes and some of those very important steps. So, I guess, if you've ever done a campaign drive with the chamber, you're probably used to getting several no's. So
No, all yeses, all yeses.
they eventually become a yes, right? It just takes some time.
We try really hard. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Because I know for for our business, I track that, and so that's one of the things. Like our closing percentage, given it's as the less expensive items. I mean, literally, I'll have the phone call. Hey, I see you have this on your website. Yeah, I've got this available. New aftermarket for 190. Yeah, so yeah, that's why I was just confirming you had. So would you like to place an order? They order it on the one phone call. Sometimes, if they're calling about a $15,000 engine, it's going to take more times to talk about that. And so for my business, it's somewhere around 10 to 15% of the number of leads we have coming in versus what we close. And so, but each industry is going to be different. And so I think the main thing is just try to, if you can, track it. So that way, that, okay, if it's going to, for every contact you get, from what Jim was saying, you're going to have to reach out to them 8 times. It's going to take, so that's, you're going to close it roughly 12% of the time in that range. And so just kind of knowing what the math is and realize that, I think a lot of people, they're afraid of failure. But it's like, like my youngest daughter, she plays basketball, and actually Jim was her coach a couple of years ago, and she was hesitating to shoot the ball. And she was like, but Daddy, I don't want to miss. And so then I asked, like, Reagan, if you're watching, the NBA, what's a good field goal percentage? About 40%. So you realize they're missing 6 out of every 10 shots they take. Oh, okay. And just kind of reframing, yeah, it is a no, but you just have to realize it's going to, rather than concentrating it's 9 rejections for 1 success. Hey, I've got to ask 10 times to get the one positive. So it's kind of a lot of times just kind of, you can kind of mentally hack your way through the rejection on that, but that's just comes down to sometimes even maturity and realizing, that the fear that's there, knowing how to dance with it appropriately and to do the best. Like you said, what Jim was talking about with the process, that's just part of the process. You're going to have quite a few no's before you get to the yes, but once you get to the yes, it's definitely worth it.
And having a really good CRM to track that is important. You got to realize that, hey, I met with company A yesterday and they told me no, but in 30 days I'm going back. And then the second time, maybe it's a maybe instead of a no. Hey, 15 more days I'm going back, and it's just a process until because they wouldn't meet with you if they weren't interested. So you trust that process and go through it and you go from it. And Chris mentioned a great point there. Chris and I met through me coaching his daughter, because that's a hobby of mine, is coaching. No idea it was going to turn into the business relationship Chris and I have now. And we've been able to work together a lot. And if I would have gone to Chris in day one of coaching his daughter and tried to sell him something, he probably would never talk to me again. So that's a community involvement right there. I mean, that's a hobby of mine, and I've coached lots of people's kids, and they've become good friends and networking black book for me.
Well, I'm going to wrap up on that part with relationships. Chris, did you have something?
Yeah, exactly. One of the things, both Jim and I have mentioned the CRM. And I think that honestly, that's one of the things that a lot of small businesses, they forget, or they don't even know it exists.
What is CRM? Why don't you
like a customer resource management, I think, or relationship management, where it's a software that once you get it set up, it will tell you what you need to do. And I feel so strongly about it now that any person who has any kind of business needs to spend the money, do that, because the return on investment for the sales for that will pay for itself multiple times over.
And how would they find out about it?
It can be a little daunting to figure out which one. I highly recommend having a CRM that integrates in with your phone system directly. And so personally, I use the Fresh Sales CRM. It's actually a Indian-based company, but I pay, I think roughly, it's similar to like a Salesforce, but a lot of people feel that Salesforce is way too expensive, which honestly, it's like at what, $1,000 a month with all the different add-ons and stuff. But Fresh Sales, it's approximately, I think, $65 a month. And it has a lot of the big boy Salesforce automations built into it. And I can't recommend it enough. I've been using it for almost 2 years now, and it has definitely helped my businesses level up and to do much, much better.
Okay. Well, we're almost out of time. I just want to say thank you again to both of you guys for being with us today, Jim Dudley and Chris Hill. I didn't know how you guys had met. And, you know, it is all about relationships. And I think that's one thing that the Paducah Chamber strives to bring to the community, is to allow you to have a lot of relationships that will help your business to grow. We do have 2 seminars coming up next Wednesday, Getting Out of Your Own Way to Be Successful. We'll hear from Chad Byer with I5 Design and Tammy Zimmerman with PayRock. And on the 30th, for all of those businesses that got PPP loans, we're going to be talking about how to transition that to grants, to that next step. So all of these events and all of this information is available at paducahchamber.org. Our previous seminars are posted. Again, thank you to our sponsors, FNB Bank and Lundberg Medical Imaging. So thank you for being with us today. I hope everyone has a great week.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.